All right, so let's look at example 2. And example 2 is just to kind of get you used to the opposite reciprocal idea. You're not going to see any problems like this because they're way too easy. This is probably what you would see in like an elementary math just to make sure you understand. But finding the opposite reciprocal of a number is going to be important because that's how you're going to find the slope of the perpendicular line. So this is just to kind of make sure that you understand that concept before we actually jump into using it on the back page of your notes. So if I want to take the opposite reciprocal of all of these numbers, I've got to do two things. I've got to switch the sign and I've got to flip the number. Now, for the first problem, this is a positive 5, so you know your answer is going to be negative. Also, so that's your opposite. The reciprocal, you guys have got to remember that whenever you have a whole number, there's an invisible 1 under it. I mean, that's basic arithmetic from elementary school. So if I want to flip the reciprocal of a whole number, you're just saying 1 over whatever that number is. So the opposite reciprocal from letter A is just simply negative 1/5. Switch the sign, flip the number. And this is what you're going to use later to find the equation of the perpendicular line. Letter B, it's a positive. So I know that when I take the opposite reciprocal, it's going to be a negative. It's already a fraction. So if I want to take the reciprocal, you just flip-flop those two numbers. For letter B, your opposite reciprocal is negative 3/2. And I know that looks like, I'll put it up here because I know we don't like that negative on the side. Okay? Same thing for letter C. Letter C is a whole number. It's a negative whole number, so I know it's going to start off as a positive. Now, I'm just putting this positive sign to remind you that we actually changed the sign. You don't have to do that in the work. I'm going to know that if it's a negative number, if you're just going to take the negative away and it'll automatically be positive. But what's the funny thing is, because this is a 1 and it's under a 1, because it's a whole number, the reciprocal of negative 1 is just positive 1. There is no 1 over, well, you could say 1 over 1, but you guys should know by now that you need to simplify problems like that or numbers like that. Then the last one, letter D, is negative 1/4. Well, the negative automatically changes to a positive, and then you simply flip over that number, 4 over 1. Now, again, you guys are old enough to know 4 over 1 is just that whole number, so I would expect you just to write 4. And even further, I would expect you just to, just not even to have the positive. The reciprocal of negative 1 over 4 is just 4. Okay? So, a little practice with that so that when you get to it, when we really need to use it, you know what to do. All right. Next, I think you are probably turning the page on the back. I know this is a lot, but this is really important stuff because you're going to see it in geometry, hopefully next year. So, top of the notes, it says on the back page, to determine whether lines are parallel or perpendicular, what you have to do, this is what you write in the blank, you put the equation in slope intercept form. You know that's important. That's the whole theme of this entire unit. And then look, and when I say look, that's an action verb. Your eyeballs are going to look at the slopes, because the slopes will determine if the lines are parallel or perpendicular, and they may not be either one. They may not be parallel, they may not be perpendicular, they just may be neither, right? And that's what you would write. Now, for example 3, and I'm not going to scoot this over right now, but you've got these 3 lines. You've got equations for 3 lines. This is the type of question I like to ask on tests or midterms in this case. I'm going to stop the tape, or the video, sorry. I want you to look at example 3 and see what we have to do first. And if you know